Hey, what's up? This is Jonathan, and today what I'd like to talk to you about is something that could profoundly change your life. If you don't know it, it could possibly make your life a little bit more toxic. It could ruin relationships with business partners, your spouse, with your friends. This is a very, very crucial thing to know, and this is the idea of cross-complaining. I love people. I'm a natural introvert, and I definitely have a tough time around people sometimes, but I like to live with roommates. Right now I have several roommates of different backgrounds. I really enjoy having a rich environment filled with different people who, quite frankly, I learn a lot from, just from experiencing them as human beings, and especially from living with them and having to manage my daily, day-to-day diplomatic relations. The thing about roommates is you are by default in competition with them. And it's not like a competitive thing like, ooh, I'm gonna do better than them in this sport, or I'm gonna beat them. You're competing for space, and you're competing for maybe even resources, right? For example, the bathroom, right? The restroom. If you need to take and your roommate is in there, you're going to be a little frustrated because basically your agenda is being hindered by someone else. Now, you may be on really good terms with this person. They may be your best friend in the world. They may be your significant other who you love very much. But at that moment in time, you're going to be annoyed because the action that this person is taking is hindering your agenda. And you just can't help but to be annoyed. Understand that, yes, when you live with somebody, they will from time to time hinder your agenda, which will be annoying. This is human nature. You know, by the fact that you just by driving a car down the highway, if there's traffic, you are competing for space. You are trying to cut into their lane so you can get that one little space before the other people can get it. There is a limited resource, and your biological drives are kicking into nature, and you need to, capitalize on that limited resource. Here's my tip for being diplomatic. If you're living with a spouse or you're living with a roommate, if they do something that bothers you, let them know right away. Respectfully, okay? I'm going to reiterate that. Let them know in a respectful way so they don't feel like they need to put up a resistance wall. They don't need to yell back at you, okay? Now, some people are better at taking feedback than others. Some people don't have a huge ego. They're not very defensive, and those are great people. But realistically, we're all human beings. We all have egos. We all can be fragile from time to time, and we all do have resistance. And sometimes these things get tripped. If they do something that bothers you, let them know in a respectful manner. Let them know in a respectful manner. It's not about them being a bad person for doing that thing. It's never about that, because it's not. For every annoying thing they do, you certainly are doing something annoying. Nobody's perfect. They say, what's the saying, the Chinese proverb, don't judge a man for having snow on his front porch don't judge the man for having leaves on his front porch when you have snow on your roof, which basically means we all have things we can work on, we can all improve on things. We tend to ignore the things that we're doing wrong, and we might focus on how that person's doing everything wrong. We might judge them harshly, but that's wrong actually, because if you want to grow as a human being, you need to learn how to improve. You need to seek out your weaknesses and improve on those weaknesses. In a relationship context, you need to let somebody know when they're bothering you. That way, respectfully, and hopefully in a way that doesn't elicit resistance, and they are willing to work with you. It's more of a collaborative thing, right? You let them know so you don't fester up, you don't hold in all these this angry, these emotions, and then it starts to turn toxic. You let your spouse know respectfully, and they approve it. That's it. That's usually what happens. Now, sometimes they might get a little offended, and they might throw something back. Like, for example, your wife didn't pick up her socks, okay? Or she didn't pick up her socks, okay? And you're like, hey, babe, you forgot to pick up your socks. Could you please pick them up? And she might be a little angry that day, aggravated, and she's like, well, I will, but you didn't do your dishes. Now, cross-complaining is when you critique someone, or when you complain to someone. Let's put it that way. If you complain to someone, they complain back at you. Now, a lot of relationships will fall into this situation where, the woman complains to the man, and the man complains back, and then before you know it, you're in a battle. You're just throwing spears back and forth at each other. It's a me versus you frame. It's not a collaborative frame, and nobody gets anywhere. We're fighting about all kinds of different things. She's or they're bringing out all these things from your past that aren't even relevant to what you initially started arguing about. It just creates angry emotions and resentment towards you and your spouse. Now, this can be avoided completely if, well, number one, it does kind of depend on your spouse to a little bit, but let's be responsible here. Let's take responsibility for ourselves. If our spouse is doing something that is bothering us, this is how you solve it. You just let them know right away in a respectful manner. And you got to make sure that they know it's respectful. You let them know. You can be upfront with them, or you can do it. You can let them know in an indirect way, like the crucial conversations, indirect critiquing way. It's tricky because they can be a little resistant to it, and they might actually get offended. They might actually complain back. Now, the thing you need to do is not keep the cycle going. You need to cut it off with you. You need to let this pattern end, die with you. If they complain back, just let it go. And understand that at that moment in time, maybe they're feeling a little resistant, maybe their feelings were hurt, but it's okay. When they're a little emotionally hijacked, and that will subside. And once it does, they'll be able to access their logical part of their brain, and they may see your side, and they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna wash the dishes or whatever it is. And just know that if somebody else is doing this to you, learn to take it. Just, even if they're triggered while they're doing it and they're angry, it's like, oh, I don't want to fight. So just, let it go. We're at the Bellagio fountains, the beautiful Bellagio fountains here. And I'd just like to wrap up this video with a little practical tip that you can use in your life. And this tip is cutting off a negative pattern before the trajectory of your relationship goes into a toxic area. So what I mean by that is recognizing a pattern and putting a stop to that pattern. Going back to the spouse example, say your spouse is leaving around her socks and you're upset about it, and you ask her politely to move her socks, but you catch her on a bad day, she's a little angry, and she complains back. She's like, you didn't do the dishes the other day. Why are you giving me stuff, why are you giving me lip for not picking up my socks? And from here, you might feel a little offended, you might feel a little hurt, and you might be triggered actually, and you might feel compelled to say something back, like, just pick up your socks, why do you gotta move? And then from there, you're just, the pattern is you and her are now throwing insults back and forth, or you're both just trying to hurt each other's feelings, throwing barbs back and forth metaphorically. And over time, this gets nothing resolved, and this just builds up anger and resentment, and then which eventually the trajectory to the relationship will veer off into potentially some toxic and contemptuous territory. But when, say, someone gets mad at you and they may insult you if you hurt their feelings, you could feed into the argument, or you can just let it land, calm down, and not respond, because that is a practical thing to do. If you can not respond to this and maybe give the situation some time to cool down, give your spouse some time to kind of cool off before you re-engage about the issue, this could send your relationship in a better trajectory where you're not getting into that toxic territory I've been talking about before. Yeah, it's just a good way to keep good relations with people who you're constantly in contact with. And over time, of course, frustrations will build up, but this is a good way to kind of let steam off for yourself. You also want to set the foundation for a good relationship where this is actually something that's happening a lot, where if somebody is feeling a little bit put off by something, they'll let you know right away. And also they know they're safe to do so. So if something bothers them, like you don't do the dishes, and they're like, hey, could you do dishes? They know you're not going to get triggered and attack them back. You're just going to be like, oh, sorry, dear, and then you do the dishes and it's all good. So that would be my one little practical tip that could profoundly change your life if you were to incorporate this into your life. So with that, I'd like to wish you a good night and good luck. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. If there's any other topics you'd like to hear about, please leave a comment below, and subscribe too if this content is something that resonates with you. I'd love to bring you more content that's full of value. That's what I aim to do, is to change lives here. So if that's the type of thing you're interested in, please subscribe. And yeah, other than that, thank you very much. I hope you have a good night. Peace.